You have $580 million, and nobody knows. Not your neighbors, not your friends, not the woman at the diner who's been pouring your coffee for 7 years and knows you take it with 1 sugar. You're not hiding. You're just unremarkable on purpose. While everyone else chases the look of wealth, you quietly became the thing itself. The strangest part is how the number arrived in a plain email. Subject line: Q2 Portfolio Recap. No exclamation point, no fanfare. Just you, standing in a hardware store, weighing 2 brands of PVC cement. This is what 580 million actually looks like. It starts with a broken ice machine in a gym locker room. Not a revelation, not a 5-year plan. Just a Wednesday evening between your workout and the drive home, when you notice the machine is dead and nobody's bothered to fix it in 3 weeks. Instead of being annoyed, you pause. You think, who owns this thing? You go home and find out. It takes about half an hour of digging, which is 30 minutes longer than most people would spend. What you find is a small-time operator running maybe 15 machines across a handful of gyms and office buildings, clearing somewhere between $35 and $110 a month per machine after restocking and lease fees. Nothing exciting. Just a figure sitting on your laptop screen while the apartment goes quiet around you. But you run the math, and the math does something to you. 1 machine in a good spot nets $75 a month. 5 machines, $375.15, over $1,000. Run tight. In the right locations, you could be looking at $1,500 to $3,500 a month landing in your account, whether you lift a finger or not. The money isn't what hooks you, it's the shape of it. The machine doesn't need you. It just sits in a hallway, quietly solving a small problem for strangers, and pays you every time it does. You buy your first machine used for $750, dented on one side, and place it in the break room of an urgent care clinic for a cut of the revenue and a handshake. First month, it clears $260 gross. After product, after the clinic's percentage, after 2 trips to restock, you net $165. Your roommate made more than that in 1 weekend bartending. Nobody claps, nobody knows. You sit with a number on a Sunday night and feel something that isn't pride and isn't disappointment, something quieter than either. You don't stop because you're not looking at the $165, you're looking at what it proves. So you add a second machine, a third. You start eyeing self-storage facilities the way you'd been eyeing vending machines. Not as a renter, but as someone studying the ownership underneath. You learn that a modest facility off a county road, 60 units, can pull $90,000 to $180,000 a year, and that the ones that fail usually fail from bad management, not bad demand. People always need somewhere to put their stuff. That need doesn't evaporate in a downturn. You buy your first storage facility for $52,000, a rough 40-unit lot outside a small town in Indiana, chain-link fence, gravel drive, 4 years left on the land lease. The previous owner, a retired lineman named Roy, tracked occupancy on a legal pad. The records are chaos, but underneath the chaos, the cash flow is real. Year 1, it nets $34,000. You don't celebrate. You roll it into the next purchase. Nobody sees this part. Not the scaling, not the compounding, just a person doing arithmetic at a kitchen table past midnight. A Wednesday observation becoming a Thursday question, becoming a Friday purchase, becoming something nobody's given a name to yet. The number was never the point. The architecture was. Your accountant is named Diane. She's kept books for small operators for 22 years. Messy LLCs, sole proprietors who file receipts in cereal boxes. She doesn't rattle easily. She sits across from you at a card table in the back office of your third storage facility, reading a folder you just handed her. She's quiet for a while. Then she looks up. This might be the most deliberately boring portfolio I've ever reviewed. She means it as a light dig. You take it as the nicest thing anyone said to you all year, because that's exactly what you set out to build. Not a brand, not a mission statement, just a quiet stack of assets, solving unglamorous problems and paying out every month whether anyone's watching or not. Here's what's in the folder. 5 self-storage facilities across 2 states, pulling roughly $260,000 a year gross, netting around $95,000 after upkeep and part-time staff. Not headline material, but it lands every month like clockwork because people don't stop needing storage when the economy wobbles. 2 municipal parking structures picked up at county tax auctions, the kind held on quiet weekday mornings that almost nobody attends. First one cost $28,000, the second $39,000. Together they clear about $51,000 a year net, run by a part-time attendant you rarely think about. 4 billboard plots along interstates in Missouri and Arkansas. You don't own the ads, just the ground underneath, leased to sign companies on 10 to 15-year contracts with built-in escalations, paying $700 to $1,300 a month each. Some months you forget they're yours. And a commercial landscaping company you bought 18 months ago from a retiring owner named Walt, who'd built it over 28 years into something that mostly ran itself. 9 contracts, office parks, 2 school campuses, revenue just over $950,000 a year. Margins thin but dependable. Diane asks if you're thinking about anything more ambitious. A tech investment, some multi-family real estate, something with real upside. You tell her no. She nods, unconvinced but not arguing. What she doesn't quite see is the logic beneath the dullness. Every asset in that folder answers a need that never disappears. Not in a recession, not when rates spike, not when some app tries to disrupt the category. People store their belongings. Cars need somewhere to park. Grass keeps growing. There's no startup coming to out-innovate a parking lot. The guy at the industry mixer is easy to spot. Slate grey t-shirt that cost more than your last 4 grocery runs combined. You know because you looked it up once. Drives a wrapped Escalade. Talks about his portfolio. The way some people talk about their astrology sign, loud enough for the room to catch it. He is performing wealth, carefully, at real expense. You drove here in a 2018 Subaru Outback with 104,000 miles and a duct-taped side mirror you keep meaning to replace. You're wearing a flannel from a farm supply store. Your watch tells time and nothing else. When he asks what you do, you say you own a few small businesses, storage mostly, some other odds and ends. You watch him do the math in real time, the Subaru, the flannel, the storage units. He smiles politely and pivots towards someone more interesting. In his head, you've been filed. Comfortable maybe. Not worth the full pitch. Good. That small, quiet dismissal is worth more than anything else that happens at the mixer, because the moment someone underestimates you, they stop watching you, and the moment they stop watching, you're free to do whatever you want. People assume stealth wealth is about humility. Maybe it is for some. For you, it's a strategy. The ordinary life is armor, worn on purpose. The Subaru isn't a statement. It's a tool that starts every morning and draws zero attention in any parking lot in the country. You paid cash for it 5 years ago and haven't spent a dime beyond gas and oil changes since. Every dollar not going toward a car payment goes somewhere that compounds. Simple math, just unfashionable. Your house follows the same logic, a modest, split level, paid off 3 years back. Neighbors assume you're a small business owner doing fine. They're not wrong. They're just off by a few zeros. You don't correct them because visibility costs something money can't buy back. The moment people know what you have, they stop relating to you and start relating to it. A distant cousin resurfaces. Someone at your gym mentions a business idea that just needs a little seed money. You've watched money change the temperature of a room the second it becomes visible, rarely out of malice, mostly just what money does to the air around it. So you keep the air clean, The flannel, the Subaru, the storage units, the deliberate appearance of someone getting by comfortably, and nothing more. Your closest friend since high school is Derek. He ran a small mobile coffee cart for 2 years. Good product, loyal following, the kind of thing that gets a mention in the local paper. He'd found a small retail space downtown he wanted to lease and turn into a permanent shop. The math worked. He needed $70,000. You could have wired it before he finished the sentence, barely noticing it. Leave your account. $70,000 is roughly 9 days of what your portfolio throws off on its own. Not a sacrifice, barely a decision, but you didn't send it. You sat there listening, feeling the strange weight of understanding a situation more clearly than the person living it. Here's what you've learned. Slowly and at some cost, money handed to someone who isn't structurally ready for it doesn't fix anything. It accelerates whatever's already broken. If the operations are loose, money makes them looser. If someone doesn't yet understand the gap between revenue and margin, capital just buys them a faster, pricier version of the lesson they were going to learn anyway. And often, the money disappears along with something in the friendship. So instead of wiring cash, you asked to come by Saturday morning. You sat at his kitchen table for 3 hours going through his numbers. You found 2 cost centers quietly draining him. You asked about the new lease, the escalation clauses, the personal guarantee. What happens if foot traffic runs 30% under projection in month 18? He didn't have answers, not because he wasn't sharp, but because nobody had ever asked. You came back the next Saturday and the one after. By week 4, he'd renegotiated 2 supplier contracts, found a regional small business loan program he qualified for, and restructured his timeline so he didn't need outside capital at all. He pieced together $48,000 through the loan and a city grant. He signed the lease 5 weeks later, called you the night he got the keys, voice cracking a little. He said he couldn't have done it without you. You never told him what you could have written the check for. You probably never will, not out of modesty, but because his story needed to be his, built on his decisions in a way no wire transfer could replicate. Still, there are rooms in your life nobody gets to enter. That part never gets easier. Not the secrecy itself, you've made peace with that, but the specific weight of watching someone you love struggle through something you could erase in a minute, and knowing full well that erasing it would be the wrong move. The armor works, the portfolio hums along quietly, the balance climbs, nobody watches, nobody asks, but nobody sees it either. Some nights, that's its own kind of cost. The email lands on a Tuesday at 6:58 a.m. You're standing in the plumbing aisle of a hardware store, not because you personally need to be there. You've got people for most of this now, but because one of the storage sites has a leaking spigot, and the site manager texted a photo while you happen to be nearby. You're holding a tube of PVC cement in one hand, your phone in the other, trying to recall if the fitting out there is threaded or slip joint. That's when the notification comes through. Subject line, Q2 portfolio recap, final. From Diane. She sends these every quarter, dense and utterly unglamorous, same font she's used for 2 decades. You usually read them Saturday morning with coffee. You almost pocket the phone, but something in the preview line stops you. You set the cement down. You open it. You read the top line twice, slowly, the way you read something you're not sure you've understood correctly. Your verified net worth, real property, business equity, liquid holdings, everything combined, has crossed $580 million. You stand there under the fluorescent lights. Somewhere behind you, a forklift beeps as it reverses. A guy in a word jacket a few feet away is comparing prices on copper elbows. Nobody's looking at you. Nobody knows. The store doesn't know. The forklift doesn't know. The number exists inside an email, on a phone, in the hand of a person holding PVC cement, trying to remember what kind of fitting is leaking outside a storage facility in Indiana. This is the moment. Not a dinner reservation, not a toast, not a phone call telling you you've made it. Just fluorescent light and the smell of sawdust and a figure on a screen that quietly accumulated over 10 years of Wednesday observations and Friday transfers and Saturdays at kitchen tables. Nobody photographed. You'd assumed it would feel different, some shift in the air, a seam between before and after you could actually feel. There isn't one. There's just the plumbing aisle, the forklift, Diane's email, and the same steady hum your life has always had. You reply with 4 words. Got it. Thanks, Diane. Then you pick the cement back up, snap a photo of the label for the site manager, and walk to the register. You pay $630. You forget you have a rewards card, same as always. In the car, you sit for a minute before starting the engine. 10 years ago, you netted 165 from a used ice machine in a clinic break room and sat with that number on a Sunday night, not knowing what to call the feeling. Not pride, not disappointment, not even worth mentioning to anyone. This is the same feeling, exactly the same, just with more zeros trailing it. That's not nothing. It might be everything, because it means the feeling was never about the number. It was about the architecture. The proof that a system runs the way you built it to run, without applause, without anyone in a hardware store having the faintest idea. You start the engine, the spigot isn't going to fix itself. You drive back the way you came. Same road, same Subaru, same taped-up mirror. Nothing about the outside of your life has changed in the last 30 minutes, and nothing will change tomorrow either. The storage gates will open at 7. Diane will send a follow-up on Q3 projections. Derek's coffee shop will have a line before 9. What's different is quieter than any of that. Somewhere in this ordinary week, you'll watch someone spend real money trying to look like they have it, and you'll notice something you couldn't have put into words a decade ago. That the performance of wealth and the architecture of it almost never live in the same person at the same time. Knowing that doesn't make Tuesday any easier, but it does make you wonder what you're actually building and for whom.